I've been requested quite a lot, actually, for we're counting on both hands the amount of times that I've been asked to have a podcast. I've had one in the past, people know this, but every time I talk to somebody, they're like, you should have a podcast, you should do it, like, go and talk about these issues that you're so passionate about and you could talk for hours about. And I'm like, you're right, I love talking. So guys, you're here today listening to Her Call, which is my podcast hosted by yours truly, Jordan Snyder. And, this podcast, it's called Her Call. It might be confused with Call Her Daddy. And if that does really confuse you, just remember that I am not blonde. And I'm not completely white either. So if those are two things that you're like, okay, maybe we should actually give this girl a chance, I really do recommend you keep listening because I like to be a little different. Not gonna lie, I don't like to fit in a box. I don't like to fit in a box. And people try to shove you in tiny little stupid boxes and expect you to sit there like a good little girl and not say anything. And I'm not really that kind of person. So in this podcast, I'm doing a little something special for the trailer. This is the, official launch of Her Call. And I thought I would just talk to you guys. I don't have all those cute clips put together, and I don't have a bunch of, fancy graphics that I paid $1,000 for. I don't have any of that. I could have it, but I don't, because I want it to be different. Remember, we just talked about this. And I thought I would talk to you guys today, but a little topic. Just a little tiny thing, little topic here. And the people who know me are going to laugh at this, but it's control. Dealing with having control issues. And I know this doesn't really apply to everyone, but it's been something I've been struggling with recently. And I deal with a lot of control issues, and I've gotten better as I've gotten older I know I can't control everything. I know not everything's going to turn out the way that I want it to, but I put so much work and I put so much effort and I put so much time into making sure that, everything goes according to plan and that I have control of everything, that everything's under control. And so some of you know, some of you don't, but I am about to move into an RV. And actually, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be me in an RV, uploading it, making it go live for everybody. But, that's something completely different. I've never experienced before. I've never dealt with before. And I am doing all of it by selling my apartment, getting, rid of everything in my apartment. Well, not selling my apartment. I'm trying to sublease it or get somebody else to take the lease. But, getting rid of everything inside the apartment, figuring out my finances so I can get this RV and actually getting the RV and, what I'm going to do with it, where I'm going to park it. There's so many different things to going into this. And luckily I have my amazing, boyfriend with me to, we're doing this together. But I have such control issues that I just want to get it all done. Like, I want this. It all has to be on time. I want to sell this exactly at this time. And if it's not being sold on this time, I get upset. I get frustrated. I'm like, why? And then also, too, like, we got forced kind of into having to do everything in under, 30 days. And if we wanted this opportunity to get this specific RV. And, I was expecting later, I had scheduled everything for a later time and I had to change everything to do this. And it was just like, it was almost like a why? Like, why does it have to happen now? I don't want to rush. I don't want to do this. I wanted it to be, I wanted to take my time. I wanted to be able to do everything the way I wanted to do it. I wanted to not have to deal with this, and this. And it just kept adding up. And it was so stressful. And I was making it more stressful than it should have been. Moving is stressful, but I've done it over 20 times in my life, and I do know that it is stressful, and I am aware of most of what's involved, but this was just such a different thing I've never lived in an RV, and I've never had to do some of these more adultish things, of dealing with, subleasing my apartment and all kinds of different parts of it. So it was becoming too much for a couple of days. It was just overwhelming, and I was cranky, and everything that I wanted to get done, or, because I was in the middle of trying to launch a podcast. It was my busiest work month and everything like that. And it was just so stressful. I was like, I don't want it. At one point, I was like, is it even worth it? Do I want to? But it was just because my control was getting in the way. I couldn't just let things be as it was supposed to. If I don't sublease my apartment right away, that's okay. If I don't sell every little piece of furniture that's in the apartment, that's also okay. Maybe I just donate it, or I give it to some friends who need it, or family, at a shelter somewhere that might need it more than me. Why don't I do that? I had to spend a day or two. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I spent a day or two just sitting down, making some lists. I love lists. They help me think, and I can write it all out, and I can see everything I need to do, everything that needs to be done. But I was able to just kind of calm down, breathe, guys. I know that's sometimes difficult when you're really stressed and you're really frustrated and you want something to go your way. But I just kind of sat down, and I made my list. I went for a walk, I calmed down, and I did all these things, and that normally calm me, and I was like, okay. And I'm not going to make this a super religious podcast, but I will say that, I have a deep faith in, Christianity, and I kind of took a moment just to pray to God. Be like, okay, I know this is not on my time anymore. He showed me that this was not on my time. This is going to be on his time, and the time that it should be. And as much as I wanted, to take the next couple months to prepare and get ready to move, I had less than 30 days, no matter what. It didn't matter what I wanted. It was what had to be done. And so I had to release my control on this thought of, this is going to end up perfect. I'm going to do it this way. I couldn't do that. It was like, nope, we're going to change all that. God said, no, you're controlling too much. Calm down, Jordan. And I was able to kind of take a step back in that moment and realize, okay, I don't have to control this. I don't have to take care of every tiny little minute detail like it's going to be the end of the world if I ignore it, So, and this also really bleeds into friendships, into relationships. And especially in relationships, now that I've gotten into a long-term relationship with my amazing boyfriend that I love so much, I've had to do a lot of checks on myself, you could say. And you always hear a lot of, dating podcasts. I think that's why Call Her Daddy got really popular, because she was giving these dating tips and, the Gluck Gluck 3000. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You can use that in relationships, but, in long-term relationships especially. But that's something that's really popular in a lot of podcasts of dating, getting, dating today's culture and doing all this stuff. But what about keeping your relationships and keeping them healthy and keeping them happy? And I realized for me when I started, after we hit that 2-year mark of I gotta change some things. Obviously in future podcasts, we'll talk all about relationships, we'll talk all about boundaries, we'll talk even more in depth about all this stuff, but control was a huge one for me that I had to reevaluate in my relationship, because I wanted to control everything that he did. I wanted to say, no, why would you cook eggs that way? You're supposed to cook them this way. Or no, don't park in that spot, park in this spot, it's better. Those are things I've actually said, guys. I'm really surprised he hasn't broken up with me. I'm serious. Those are things I've actually said where my control was getting to the point where it was hindering our relationship. He didn't really say anything about it, but I could tell, it was wearing on him. And I couldn't imagine that if we went, 5, 10, 20 years, if I was still doing that, you know how annoyed you'd be? If some guy was trying to do that to me, I'd be like, oh no, we gotta go to therapy, babe. We gotta do something about this, because this is not gonna keep happening. But that's what I was doing, and I wasn't even thinking about it at the time. I was just like, it's just the way it needs to be. I need that control. I need that to make me feel better. Right? But I realized I can't do that. And I see so many people do that in relationships and don't even realize it. They don't even realize that they're trying to control their significant other, and, you know, they think they're helping. Like, I always thought I was helping. I was like, oh, this is a better spot, you know, because of this, and this reason, we should park here, but it have better access, but he's not thinking about that. You know, he's just wanting to stop the car somewhere and keep it there for a little bit till he needs it next. And, he doesn't take that as you're helping him. He takes it as, she's just kind of, you know, she just wants to control this right now. I don't know why she's doing this to me. Like, and it gets this resentment. And so I really had to check myself and make sure that I stopped doing that, or at least slow down. And it was so funny because the first month that I started doing that, you know, I made a difference. Every day I was like, okay, nope, don't say that. I would make a mental note, don't say that. He's about to go do something that, you know, I think he could do it better if he did something else. No, don't say anything. And I would just like look, or I would just look the other way if I couldn't like control that urge. This sounds very OCD, guys. I promise. I potentially not I might be actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I know for sure I'm super dyslexic, ADHD, so if I veer off topics, this is why. I'm actually off topic right now, so that explains it. Sensory processing disorder, all that stuff. So yeah, I got a few things going on. Oh, severe anxiety, social anxiety, some things like that. But what I was saying is that the first month that I decided that I needed to rein in my control issues, it was so funny because, you know, we were actually in the exact circumstance I was mentioning before of, like, we were parking a car, you know, he was driving, we're parking into a spot at our apartment place, and I probably, like, visually, like, physically tensed up. And I think he might have noticed, and he, like, stopped because he was about to pull into this one spot that I knew was not the spot that I wanted, but I didn't say anything because I, like, held back. And, he stopped the car, kind of, like, saw me, and he goes, should I park over in the other one over there? And I was like, yeah, park the other one, because the other one was what I wanted. And we went over into the other spot, you know, it was super nice. He parked it in the spot that I wanted. And I, like, kind of, like, breathed, and I was like, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to work on my control issues, so I haven't been saying anything. But, you know, that, you probably noticed, but that really bothered me that you're about to park there. And I swear to God, this boy looked at me. He looked so relieved. He, like, let out this long breath and was like, oh my gosh, I thought you've been mad at me all month. He really thought I was angry at him, like, all month for no reason. And I guess he spent all month trying to figure it out, but he didn't know how to, like, say it. He didn't know how to ask me because he wasn't sure what it could possibly be. And so poor boy was stressing for no reason. But I told him that, and so sometimes, like, it's funny, like, we'll catch each other, or he'll catch me kind of like I want to say something, but then I stop myself, and then, you know, he knows me so well enough now that, you know, he'll be like, oh, we can do it that way. I'm like, no, we're gonna do it your way. Okay, just don't listen to me pretend I'm not even here. Do it how you want. But, you know, I've never had to live with somebody long term before. Like, I've never had a boyfriend that I just lived with. I haven't lived with anyone besides, like, my parents and my brother. And so learning to relinquish that control of, you know, he's gonna vacuum differently than me. He's gonna clean the tub way differently than me. Nobody prepared me for this when I was getting into a serious relationship. Especially with my control issues. But I had to start letting all that go, because that was not healthy, and that was going to take a relationship down. And in serious relationships, you have to constantly reevaluate where you're at. Constantly. Be like, okay, well, what can I do differently? What can I do better? And then talk to them, because what you think might be better might not be. Like, for my boyfriend, he thought I was mad at him for a whole month because I was trying to be better. Because I thought that would help our relationship, and yes, it is, but he didn't know that because we didn't communicate that, and that could have potentially also became an issue. So, you know, when they say communication in relationships, yes, that's, you know, also very important, but relinquishing your control, and, you know, whether or not that's you believe in God, or if you don't believe in God, or you just believe in some potential higher power, the universe, whatever it is, just knowing that it's not in your control. You can't control every single thing in your life. You can't control that. You can't control everything. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I say to myself every single day, Jordan, you can't control that. That's going to happen. The next day could all be completely different. I could plan out my 5 years, you know how they say, do that 5-year plan, you know, decide what you want, decide the career, decide how many kids you're going to have, decide who your husband's going to be, who your boyfriend's going to be, who your wife's going to be, who your girlfriend's going to be. Doesn't matter. None of it you can control. Not really. Like, you can obviously choose to kind of head in a direction. But God, or like I said, whatever you believe in, is going to throw a little curveball. He's going to be like, ooh, look at this. This is where you actually should be. Why are you going down this one path? That's a bad path. You go down the other one. And when you have control issues, you hold on to that one direction. You hold on because that's all you have. That's all you know. And that's where anxiety starts building. And that's where things like, you know, having severe attachment issues and control issues come from, because you're so worried about going from the path, from leaving that direction, that you're just an anxious ball, you know, stuck in your bed, not able to do anything, feeling like your life and that you are a failure. So I just kind of wanted to put this out there for everybody. I told you I'm going to keep this a mini episode. This is just a little bit of a taste of everything you're going to get. Okay, so you guys don't have to be sad. There's definitely be more. I have some amazing interviews that I've already done. So they're pre-done. I'm ready to post them, you know. Oh, do you guys hear there's lightning out or thunder? Oh, that's crazy. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. ADHD! I do have severe ADHD, so if you want to listen to this podcast, you have to be okay with that. If you're also an ADHDer, comment, follow, let me know, because for some reason, us ADHD people are on a whole different level. I'm completely unmedicated. That's something we can also talk about in a later episode. But, you know, figuring out ways to deal with that's tough, especially when you have severe ADHD. I think I've been diagnosed since I was like 6 or 7 or something like that. So it's been something my whole life. It's something I've always dealt with. But anyway, like I was saying, guys, we have so much we're going to be talking about, like becoming business minded. I have a lot of business stuff. I have an interview that I just did with a marketing copywriter for email, and she was fantastic and gave amazing information on how to make sure that your emails don't end up in the spam folder. I have a bunch of people lined up for relationship advice, people who deal with that are life coaches. So many things, so many different things. I'm also a writer, so I have a lot of writer friends, and I'm gonna have tons of those people on, so you guys don't have to stress. I'm gonna have something for everybody. So if you're like, I don't really deal with, control issues, like I let everything just go with the flow, this podcast is probably not for me, then shh, because we have it for you. I have everything you could possibly need in this one podcast. You honestly don't even need to listen to Call Her Daddy anymore. I mean, am I gonna get like copywritten because it's like, I don't know, I keep mentioning Call Her Daddy, but like I feel like people are gonna be like, oh my god, it's like Call Her Daddy. I don't know, is that a thing? Can that happen? If I just mention Call Her Daddy, can she come for me? I don't know. That could be an interesting podcast episode though, if that did happen. But if it does, like I said, this is going to be the spot where you're going to hear about it. So guys, I'm just beyond ecstatic that you're even here listening in the first place. Stay tuned for more episodes. They're going to be popping up every single Wednesday coming up soon. So prepare yourself. Make sure you subscribe. I don't know, whatever else you got to do. Leave some reviews if you liked me already. I mean, if you wanna, that's cool. And yeah, I'm so glad I got to talk to you guys today, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye.